Author Stephen Ambrose of Band of Brothers said, "Love of the past implies faith in the future." And one of my favorite subjects has always been history. My grandfather was a soldier in World War II. Now, our grandparents rarely talked about it, and when they did, it was very brief. I wrote The Shores of Normandy, this beautiful piano composition with cinematic strings to honor these people. It's been portrayed in films, it's been explained in novels, but we got glimpses from our grandparents in telling the story. I'm going to share with you an interview my brother did when he was in elementary school. Now, he's a grown man now. He has kids and a very successful businessman, but he went into my grandfather's living room, was able to see his uniform and hear a little bit about his experience in the Battle of the Bulge, which turned the tide to defeat Germany so that we could have victory and peace restored to the world. So here's the interview that my brother did long ago, and preceding it is the video, if you have not seen it, for my piece, The Shores of Normandy.
I'd like you to meet Captain Alan W. Layton. During World War II, he was commander of an Army Field Artillery unit at the Battle of the Bulge and all across Europe. Captain Layton, how did you join the Army?
In 1941, all of the seniors at the university that took ROTC, Reserve Officer Training, were commissioned second lieutenants, and all of us were ordered to active duty for just 1 year. And we got paid $166 a month and $40 quarters allowance, and that was a lot of money in those days. And we went into service as second lieutenants in June of 41, but on December the 7th of 1941, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, and we were at war with Japan, and shortly after, we declared war on Germany, and we got notices that we were in for the duration of the war plus 6 months. And we went off to a Camp Roberts, California, and then on to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, which is the home of the field artillery.
When you signed up, were you in the artillery? Why were you in the artillery?
Well, the unit at the University of Utah was an artillery unit, and at that time we were horse-drawn. But with the tanks and the personnel carriers and everything being more mobile, why they phased out all the horse-drawn artillery and everything became mechanized. And we had M5 tractors that pulled our big guns, and our guns would shoot about 10 miles.
What is the artillery?
Well, the artillery are large guns, generally a few miles behind the infantry, that can shoot over the infantry and destroy tanks and columns of troops, and fire what we call interdiction fire on roads and bridges, knock out bridges with artillery, and generally harass the enemy in rear of their frontline troops.
So they basically just clear the way for the infantry.
That's right. We would send out a barrage of artillery that would soften up the resistance in front of the infantry, and then the infantry would move forward.
What is the Battle of the Bulge exactly?
As we fought across France, the Germans retreated to the Siegfried Line, which was a bunch of pillboxes and fortifications that they felt would be a formidable defense line for Germany. And we fought across France and went into a gun position about 25 miles east of Bastogne, into a wooded area that had a lot of poles that the Germans had cut, and they were going to build telephone communication lines. And in that gun position, we decided we'd build some cabins in the woods. And we built 26 cabins and a mess hall. And we were in that area with all these poles there. It was, and I had 2 men in my outfit that had built a bunch of log cabins up in Maine and Wisconsin. And I put about 50 of the men in the outfit with them. And they went around and built cabins for the gun sections, for the motor sergeant, for the mess hall, and we had a place where we could be in and out of the weather because there was a lot of rain, and of course as winter came on, well, we had a lot of snow.
What were the living conditions like in the cabin?
Well, it was cold. We wore 4-buckle overshoes. We had heavy coats. We wore a little skin cap with our helmet that protected your head. We wore them all the time. And we got some old barrels and made blocked them up and made stoves out of them. And of course there was a lot of firewood, and we was able to build fires and keep warm. And but we were firing during the day and in the night. We always had to have a group of men that was always awake during the night.
Were you ever injured in the war?
Yes, right after the Battle of the Bulge, when we went on into Germany, we were assigned a gun position in the Eifel area. It's a heavily wooded area, hilly area, and there was a lot of dead Germans and dead American soldiers, cows, horses, everything that were dead, and I knew it was a big minefield. And I told the colonel that we'd lose a lot of men if we had that position, and he checked with the general that was the Corps Artillery Commander, and he said that's where he wanted us to be. And we got out our mine detection equipment, and we'd locate these mines, and they were about 3 feet long and about 8 inches square, filled with explosive. It was a metal case filled with like dynamite. And we uncovered literally hundreds of them and just threw them down over the hill and nothing happened. But the mine detection corporal, he figured if he could disarm one of the mines, it would never explode. And I was about 4 or 5 feet from him, and he was sitting on a rock, I think, and he was prying on the case, and it exploded. And it just blew him to pieces, and I went flying off through the air, and I was gathered up and taken to a infantry aid station. It was an old barn, and in the barn was just stacks of dead American soldiers stacked up like logs, and I was bleeding so badly and had so many wounds, and I knew that I'd bleed to death if I didn't get out of there. And did you ever get hit on the head and stunned? That's the way I was. And my eardrums had been blown out, and a bunch of my teeth gone, and I was really torn up. And I got in a Jeep and went back to my aid station, and Captain Wolf took care of me, loaded me in an ambulance, and we went back to a field hospital where they cut my garments off of me and just cleaned me up and put us on a big ambulance and took us into a hospital in Paris.
What happened when you got back to Paris and in the hospital?
Well, I was in the hospital for quite a few days in Paris, and actually when the hospital train got into the Paris station, we had to stay on the train for quite a while. We learned later that General de Gaulle, who was the head French general at that time, was passing through the area. They just didn't want any movement anywhere. After I was there for a short time, they put us on what they call air evacuation, and I was flown to England, to the town of Swindon, which is about 90 miles west of London. I was in the hospital there, a huge hospital out in the country. after got feeling better, why they put us on a hospital ship and came back to the U.S.
So you didn't finish the war in the Army?
I didn't finish the war in the Army. I came back to Camp Kilmer in New Jersey, and then they put us on a hospital train, and I had to have nerve surgery on my left leg. And I came on a hospital train clear to Bushnell Hospital, which is up in Brigham City, and it was there that I was discharged from the Army.
Grandpa, I see you have some old Army stuff over there. Do you think you could show me that?
Yeah, let's have a look. When we were in the artillery at university, everybody had artillery boots. See the spurs on here? You ride the horses. And I wore those. And those boots, I think, cost about $40. And today, they'd probably cost about $500. This was my Army cap. You know what the 2 bars is?
No.
That's captain. 2 bars is captain. Okay. These dress-up Army trousers. I don't think I could wear them now.
The uniform looks like uniforms that you see in the movies a lot.
This was kind of a dress uniform. And this was the hat. Let's see how you look in the hat. Hey, man. This was our dress-up uniform. See the cross cannons there? That means artillery. U.S., you know what that is. You see this ribbon here?
Yep.
That's the Purple Heart right there. That means Grandpa was wounded. That's a service ribbon. And this, with those stars on there, are the campaigns. Normandy, the Battle of France, and the Battle of Germany. That's what those 3 stars are there. And see, we got 2 bars again on the shoulder.
For captain.
During the war, they told us to take all of our insignia off. They said if you were captured, the Germans would kill the officers just to get rid of them. So during the war, a lot of us were counseled to take it off. Well, this is just some of the things, but I've often wondered what happened to our guns. We never brought them back. I know I had to sign with Army Ordnance for those big guns that we had, and I've often wondered what happened.